Should you move to Arizona or Florida? Now, if you were like me and you were tired of living in a cold, dark climate like I was when I moved from Nebraska, these are probably going to be the main two states that you will compare. Another video I checked out what it's like from Phoenix to Las Vegas. In this video, I will go through the 9 comparisons of why we chose to move to Phoenix, Arizona versus like the Tampa, Orlando area in Florida. So that way, if you're thinking of making a move, you kind of have a general idea of the pros and cons of each area. So without further ado, let's get right into number 1. So the number 1 reason why we chose to move to Phoenix versus the Florida area is based on humidity. You hear a ton of people in Arizona say, well, it's a dry heat. And honestly, what does that even mean? Nobody knows. Nobody even tells you what that means. It just means that like when you walk outside, there's no humidity at all. It just feels very, very dry and the air feels very crisp. You don't feel like muggy. So like in Orlando, I grew up going to vacations there, right? You take a shower, especially like in the summertime, like June, July, August, September. You take a shower and you step outside and like you're already sweating again, you're already wet. In Arizona, you will notice that you really don't sweat that much. Even like when it's 100 degrees, like yes, if you're wearing like a hat, you'll start to notice that you're sweating. The heat just evaporates off of you. The water just evaporates off your skin. So it's a very, very different type of heat. The main difference too is that when it's 80 degrees in Florida, it feels very, very hot. You're gonna be sweating a ton. In Phoenix, honestly, anything under 80 degrees feels kind of chilly because there's no humidity in the air, there's no moisture in the air. It feels very, very dry. Like there will be times where we'll be in the pool, we get out and it's 95 degrees and it's like, oh my gosh, it's chilly out. It's because there's no moisture in the air. And the huge thing too is that if you move to Arizona, as soon as you step in the shade, it feels 15 to 20 degrees cooler. So that's how a ton of people can live here and survive here in the summertime. Because if you're always parking in the shade, if you're always going for walks in its shady areas, it makes a huge, huge difference on your way to surviving the summers. Both places are hot, but that was a huge factor of why we chose to move to Arizona versus. Now, one of the second main reasons why we chose to move to Phoenix versus, again, this video I'll say Orlando, Tampa, Florida, it's just a general comparison. But the second reason is I do not like thunderstorms at all. It sounds kind of crazy, being an adult. I really don't like them at all. I think they're honestly kind of terrifying. So when I was younger, I was out on a golf course and some guys wanted to go play. It was starting to lightning out and lightning struck like 2 holes over. Ever since then, I've been terrified of thunderstorms. Going off of that too, so I love to golf, right? And so in Nebraska, I love summer afternoons where you could just go out, play 9 holes. It's absolutely beautiful out, it's nice and warm. But in Florida, it rains or thunderstorms every single weekend. So Tampa, it's the home of the lightning, right? It's the lightning capital of the US or something like that. So that was honestly a huge deterrent for myself and my wife, is that in the summertime, we love to be outside. Even though it's hot, we love to be out and active. And if it's always thunderstorms in the afternoon, that is going to be a major, major turnoff. I love going out and golfing after a long day's work. And so if it's always thunderstorms, I really thought that would bring my mood down. So that was a huge reason why we chose, again, Arizona over the Orlando area. Now, the third reason, if you are anything, like myself or my wife, and you're thinking about making the move away from family, the biggest thing is that you're gonna be far away, right? So that was a huge factor of why we chose Phoenix versus the Florida area, is it's just a little bit closer. It doesn't sound like a huge difference, but a 2-hour flight versus a 3 just makes it so much easier to either go home and see family, for them to come and visit. One thing too, that was a huge, huge plus for us, is that in Phoenix, so there's not only 2 airports, but it is the hub of Southwest and American, so both major airlines fly nonstop pretty much everywhere. And then the nice thing too on top of that is that out in Mesa, you have Allegiant. So if you're from like a smaller town, like Sioux Falls or like Bozeman, Montana, for example, we've recently flown Allegiant to both of those places. It's nonstop, it's super cheap. I just got a round trip flight for $80. Like that's unheard of. So that was a huge decision for why we picked Phoenix. I also have a sister that's out in Denver, so are we gonna drive there all the time? Probably not, but it's nice to have the option, that my family can go out, we can drive, we can meet in Denver, and it's only a 12-hour drive, so that was a huge, huge plus for us. If we lived in Florida, nobody would ever come and drive and visit us, and it's just a little bit too far from my family, being all from, again, I'm from Nebraska, I was born in Minnesota, and my family's from South Dakota, so that just seemed a little bit too far down in the Florida area versus the beautiful sunshine here in Phoenix. So honestly, I actually covered my number 4, so I'll just briefly talk about it again, is, just the direct flights and the ability to travel. So, there's so many, especially like if you're from the Northwest, moving to Phoenix provides a super easy access. You can fly to Seattle, Portland, those are easy flights. And not only that, if you're on the West Coast too, you have Hawaiian Airlines and you have Alaska. And not, again, not to mention, I guess in the Florida area, you got like the Caribbean, but you're only 4 or 5 hours flight from the Phoenix, Arizona area to Hawaii. What a huge advantage, right? Who wouldn't want to go, see a luau and enjoy the beautiful islands of Maui and Oahu? So super easy proximity there. And again, Phoenix, it does fly pretty much nonstop to every city, every major city in the US. So I have a friend, he's living out in the New York City area and the Boston area. You can get direct flights. We're actually going out to Boston this summer. So you can get direct flights out there on Delta, American, Southwest. So that is a huge, huge factor in why we chose to move to Phoenix versus like the Tampa or Orlando area. Guys, if you like this video so far, make sure you click the like button and comment down below. I really want to know your thoughts about what you think of my list so far of why we chose Arizona versus Florida. And guys, in this channel, we cover everything there is to know about moving to Phoenix, Arizona. Guys, I absolutely love Phoenix, Arizona. I love it so much that I changed my career to help people just like you that are thinking about making a move to the Phoenix, Arizona area, make it possible and make it happen. So guys, pause the video. Our contact information is down below. We absolutely want to hear from you and we want to see how we can best help you. I'm telling you, it absolutely changed my life and I really want to help you change yours. So without further ado, let's get into it. And guys, before we do, make sure you stay all the way to the end because I'm going to go over the 4 regrets that we have of choosing Phoenix versus the Orlando or Tampa area in Florida. So without further ado, let's move on to number 5. So number 5, I talked about this in my other video about going from Phoenix to Vegas. This was a huge reason why we chose Phoenix. So when we were thinking about moving, we had work from home jobs at the time, but we knew that we wanted to like plug into the community and really get involved and have jobs that were more centered around the community. So that was a huge aspect of why we chose Phoenix. Because there's over 5 million people that live in the Phoenix Valley. It's absolutely crazy actually how big it's gotten. But there's a ton of opportunities no matter what you're doing. If you love doing like clubs or like sporting activities, Phoenix has it. If you need the like big city living, right? Phoenix has it. Like there are so many job opportunities, especially in, there's 2 universities. You got University of Arizona and ASU, not far. ASU's in Tempe. So there's a ton of, university jobs. They really need teachers down here in the Phoenix area. Healthcare is a major industry. It is one of the biggest industries in the Phoenix area, especially like if you're a skin doctor with all this sunshine, Phoenix is going to be an amazing place for you. So that was a huge reason why we chose it. It was, we never even thought that it would be hard, to find a job. We never thought it would be hard to find a job at all. So that is why we're like, what, let's do it. If, anything happens with our work from home jobs, I guarantee that we can find something. There's so many opportunities. There's 5 million people here. There's gotta be something for us. So that was a huge reason why we chose Phoenix over like the Tampa or Orlando area. Now, number 6, guys, if you have seen any of my other videos, you guys know I absolutely love to golf, first of all, but I just love to be outside and hike and, see different scenery. And coming from Nebraska, I needed a change. I needed something different. Everything in Nebraska kind of looks relatively the same. If you're in like the eastern part, you have to go way to the west side for change. But that was a huge reason why we loved Arizona so much. I never realized how diverse Arizona is as of a state. If you go 2 hours, you're 30 degrees cooler and you're at 7,000 feet. If you go 2 hours south, you're down in Tucson at Mount Lemmon, and again, that's a 12,000 foot mountain. If you go 2 hours west, you're out in Yuma, Arizona, where there's like sand dunes. It literally looks like you're in like the Middle East. It's crazy. Arizona is a crazy state. It is so diverse. And that's one of my favorite parts about living here. It's just how diverse it is. Again, you could go 3 hours even further east and you have like rolling hills. It looks like you're in the Appalachian Mountains. Arizona is absolutely wild. Yes, it does get a little hot, but it literally has everything. You can ski and golf in the same day. And that was a huge attraction as to why we picked Phoenix. Florida, the times that we've been there, it all just kind of looks the same. It's all kind of swamp, which I'm totally cool with. I love visiting there. But for actually living, and taking like day trips, we thought Phoenix would be a much better spot for us because of the diversity that you can have within 3 hours. Like, yes, Phoenix doesn't have the beach or the ocean, but the nice thing is you're only 3 hours away from Rocky Point. So you can head down there and you're 5 hours away from San Diego, 6 hours from LA. So if you need the beach, you got it. It's not in your backyard per se, but it's still easy access. It's not like you're living in Nebraska and you gotta fly or drive to go to the ocean. Phoenix, Arizona has that for you. It's just gonna be a little bit of a commute, but the diversity of the state was a huge reason why we absolutely loved the idea of moving to Phoenix when we were coming from Nebraska. This one I'm excited to share with you because you might think the same thing as I am. You know, honestly, every time that I was in Florida, I just always felt like it was just kind of an interesting state, just like kind of driving around. You know, it didn't, like, there's obviously really nice areas of Florida, but for the most part, I just feel like it was just kind of different. You know, the people are different. Like, if you guys have ever heard the joke of like, go Google Florida man and then your birthday and like just start reading. We did this at Christmas and it was absolutely hilarious of the stories. Now, obviously, like, these are news stories, right? And they're like trying to promote and like, you know, get headlines and stuff like that. So it wasn't a huge factor, but honestly, I just felt like you never really hear anything like that for Phoenix. I came down here and visited, you know, before we actually decided to make the move. And I just felt like everything was like very, very clean. And you didn't really see, you know, there's really not too many homeless people that are in the area. So that was a huge factor, you know. I just feel like overall Phoenix is just a little bit cleaner. And I love the people here. It's such a diverse mix of literally everything. Like everything America has to offer, Phoenix has. Like you have people from the Northwest, you have people from, there's a ton of California influence. Obviously there's a ton of like, you know, Mexican influence, especially with the cuisine down here. But then you also have like the Midwest nice. Like everybody here in Phoenix, honestly, has been so friendly and so nice. Like a ton of people who wave to your neighbor, like you talk to people in the grocery store. You don't really get that kind of stuffiness that I've heard of, you know, from like the Northeast or like the Florida area. Everybody down here, I'm telling you, it's very, very relaxed. And how could you not be when the weather is this good? So that was a big reason of why we chose Phoenix. We just felt like, you know, it's a little bit cleaner. The people are a little bit friendlier. And it's an amazing spot. That was a kind of underrated factor, but it's something that I've definitely come to know from living here, that is, everybody's very, very nice, and it just has a really, really cool feel living here in Phoenix. Number 8 reason of why we chose to move to Phoenix versus like the Florida area is, honestly, this might sound hilarious, I do not like wind at all. It is honestly my least favorite element. I'd say like the freezing cold is probably a very close second, but I cannot stand when it's windy because I don't know, I love to golf and I love to play tennis too. So whenever it's really windy, and I came from Nebraska where the wind's always blowing, right? Here in Phoenix, you never really get that windy of days. Like honestly, you could count on your hand how many windy days there are of over like 20 miles an hour, for example. I feel like in Florida, that is an absolute constant. So that aspect of the weather was a huge, honestly, it really was a huge factor. It might sound kind of funny, but again, I love to golf and I love to play in really, really nice conditions. In Phoenix, like I'm not kidding, it's literally never windy. You get a little breeze like you do right now. You might be able to hear it through the mic. Especially like in the springtime, late summer with monsoon seasons, it does start to pick up a little bit more. But in the fall and the winter, it is very, very rarely windy. It's absolutely amazing. It sounds funny. It's kind of a funny reason to pick one spot over another, but it actually was a huge factor. I don't like playing in wind at all. And so I was like, well, I could play in, you know, Phoenix where it's just gonna be super hot and not windy. So I'll take that. And honestly, I've absolutely loved that aspect. Number 9, so the number 9 reason, and I'm actually gonna add a bonus one because I just thought of it, just being around and walking around this little lake area. So number 9, Phoenix, I felt like it's definitely a much younger area than Florida. You know, my brother-in-law, this is kind of mean, but he always jokes that Florida is God's waiting room. It does sound kind of cruel, but I never thought about it like that. But you know, Phoenix, when you're going around and you're living in like the Phoenix area, like downtown or Scottsdale or downtown Chandler or downtown Gilbert, it has a ton of young people and a young, you know, influence. There's so much to do as a younger person here, and that was a huge major influence of why we chose to move here. You know, I'm definitely sure like Orlando and Tampa has that, but I kind of view those, Tampa more like more people live in it, right? Orlando more of like a tourist town, but for Phoenix and Scottsdale, I'm telling you guys, there's young people everywhere, especially like, you know, once Steph and I, once we start to have our own, you know, family. It's just her and I for right now. I know there's a ton of communities that would be amazing spots like Queen Creek and Gilbert, the Ahwatukee area, where, you know, there's a ton of other younger families as well. So that is a huge factor of why we chose the Phoenix area. For example, Gilbert's average age is only about 37. So it's a very, very young city. You see kind of younger people everywhere. It does have, you know, a ton of retirement communities, or in the East Mesa area and out in Sun City. But guys, there are young people everywhere. And that was a huge reason why we chose to move to Phoenix. But like, it would be so easy to meet people, and it absolutely is. Again, whether you're golfing, you're doing workout clubs or like walking clubs or anything, guys, you name it, Phoenix has it. And that was a huge factor of why we chose the Phoenix area over Tampa or Orlando. Now, at the start of the video, I just said that there was only 9. Honestly, I just thought of another one while I was out, you know, walking around here. It's a very, very vibrant city. There we go. Very, very vibrant, very, very active. There are always people biking. There are always people running. There's always people walking. Guys, even in the summertime, I really thought like in the summertime, like nobody goes outside and nobody does anything. Honestly, that could not be further from the truth. I trained for a marathon all summer a couple years ago, and I would pass people. I would give them, high fives and knock them up, and it was really, really cool. I never really realized how active of a city Phoenix is. People are always hiking or mountain biking, or I'm helping a couple right now that is thinking about moving, and they want to be closer to rocks so that they can go rock climbing. It's a very, very active city, especially pickleball. They are building a huge facility out in the Scottsdale area for pickleball. So they have so many active adult communities. If you're a little bit older, there's always something going on. Different clubs like book clubs, golf clubs, tennis clubs, pickleball clubs. You name it, they got it. Phoenix is a very, very active city, and that's what it's really cool. I'm telling you, you really get that like California influence of like always wanting to be outside. And how could you not when it's this beautiful and it's this sunny and you have a backyard that looks like this? How could you not want to be outside all the time? So it's a very, very active city, very healthy city, and that was a huge factor of why we absolutely love living here. Again, guys, if you like this video, click the like button and comment down below. I want to know your thoughts about the 10 things that I absolutely love of why we picked Phoenix over Florida. But now let's get into, maybe not, I don't really like to live in regrets, but what are some things that Phoenix had that I wish like the Tampa or Orlando area had, or just Florida in general? Phoenix is not really a big sports town. People really do like the Suns, but we went to like an ASU game, and I came from Nebraska. I went to Nebraska, go Big Red, and like when you go to Nebraska, there's 90,000 people, and everybody's like zoned in, locked in on the football game. We went to an ASU game, it was like 70% full, and nobody was really watching the game. We've gone to Cardinals games where half of the fans are away fans. We've gone to Diamondbacks games where like nobody's really there. There's only 7,000 or 8,000 people. It's more now since they went to the World Series, but just know it's not the biggest sports town. So like if you are like a diehard, you can still absolutely go. They have the ability, to go to all the sports, but unless like you're going to a Suns game, the passion for sports here really isn't that, it's not that big. There's so much other stuff to do in the Phoenix area that I feel like sports is kind of an afterthought for most people. So not a huge sports town, and I definitely wish that was one thing that Phoenix had that the Florida area definitely has. Now the second one, this is going to be an obvious one, but obviously Phoenix doesn't have a beach. There are a couple communities in the Phoenix area that do. So again, if you're thinking about making the move, guys, this is why you need to reach out to us, because we go through a consultation and figuring out exactly what your needs are and what are the best neighborhoods for you. But Phoenix doesn't have a beach. It's a desert, right in the middle of the Sonoran Desert. So that is it is a huge drawback, right? Especially when it's super hot. Oh man, there's nothing better than laying out on the sand and then standing in the waves. I just feel like you just feel like so like relaxed and refreshed. The summer here, it definitely can wear on you. That's why I try to get out like once or twice a year, or once or twice a month in the summer, just to escape the heat and kind of come back and like refresh. I feel like if we had the beach, that would be so much better, because then you could just go in, cool off, and just absolutely relax. One thing too, yes, like there's pools everywhere, like that beautiful pool that you guys had just seen back there. But in the summertime, it's wild. Like it doesn't get like cold. It's like 89 or 90 degrees. So it's kind of like a warm little bath. You can jump in, and it is kind of refreshing, but it's nothing like the ocean. That is a huge drawback of what Phoenix doesn't have versus what Florida obviously does. Now the third one. This one honestly might come as a surprise, because again, I am a huge golfer. That is the main reason why I moved down to the Phoenix, Arizona area. But there's a ton of great golf. There's a ton of amazing golf out here. But honestly, the more I live here, desert golf is really not my style. I don't really like how if you're barely off of the fairway, like for example, this is kind of what you are greeted with. I really miss that like Parkland style, and you really get that obviously in the Florida area. So I think in general, Florida definitely has better courses, especially like big name courses, right? Like if you're a huge golfer, you got like Doral, Whirlwind. These are all in the Florida area. Obviously, you got TPC, you got the Stream Song Resorts, the TPC out in the Tampa area. So I think there's a lot bigger courses out in Florida, and I think honestly the municipal courses out there are going to be a little bit better than here. Again, there are amazing golf courses here, and I absolutely love that aspect, especially that I can play 12 months a year. But I feel like the style of golf courses in Florida is definitely something I would enjoy better, and I wish that Phoenix had. I wish there was more Parkland style courses where it's not just all desert. One thing to note too, that if you are barely off the fairway, it's gonna be like hard pan, and it kind of scratches up the bottom of your club. So some people even carry like a rock club. So if you were living in Florida, obviously you would not have to deal or worry about that at all. So I definitely wish the golf courses were more similar to Florida, but hey, you gotta take what you can get. And desert golf, it's fun, just not all the time. Now the fourth and final one, honestly, again, this one might come as a surprise, but the winter weather in Florida is definitely better, especially like in the Tampa. I'm gonna exclude Orlando because actually Orlando gets kind of chilly, but for the most part, Florida weather in the wintertime is much nicer. I was looking today, you know, the average lows in like December, January, February, or highs, sorry, are in like the low 70s. Here in like December and January, it gets honestly, it's not cold, but it's chilly. You know, you could get highs of like 57, 58, 59. Most days are gonna be between 60 and 65 and just pure sun, not very much wind. But at night, I'm telling you, it gets really cold. The second that the sun goes down, I tell my family all the time, like coming from Nebraska, like you would never think I would get cold, because I get freezing here in the winter time, especially at night and in the morning. So you definitely need a jacket. And I feel like if you were living in like the Florida area, I would just be a little bit warmer all year. You know, we talked earlier about the humidity. I think that is a huge factor of why it kind of stays a little bit warmer. So that is one aspect of, you know, Florida that I wish Phoenix had. I love the summers out here. I love the spring and fall time, but I do wish that the winter time was a little bit warmer like it is in the Florida area. So guys, that wraps up my list of, you know, some of the major reasons why we chose Phoenix versus like the Florida, Orlando, Tampa area, and you know, some of the regrets that we have. So again, if you like this video, guys, please click the like button. That way I know you guys like the content that I'm producing, and comment down below. I really want to know your thoughts about what you thought of this video and where you're coming from. And again, if you're thinking about making a move, guys, I absolutely love helping people. I changed my entire career to help people make them move here to the Phoenix, Arizona area, and we want to help you. So pause the video, check out our other videos on our channel, and reach out to us. Our content, our communication, there we go, is down below. So pause the video, reach out to us. Guys, thanks for watching, and check out the other videos on our channel.